Okay, everybody, this is Emar Self-Tooth of Sports Inquirer. Happy to be joined by head coach of Georgia State Beach Volleyball, Beth Van Fleet. Beth, thank you for joining us. Before we get to the start of the season, how was the off season and also handling your roster? We'll look at it, break it down a little bit later, but you have a lot of returning players, even some fifth year and transfers. How was the off season balancing that roster?
Thank you so much for having me, Marcel, and thank you so much for keeping up with our team and our program. Our preseason, our off-season was really intense this year. It was great to get back to more normal conditions post-COVID years, and being able to have 4 fall dates. That really helped us to figure out some partnerships and some pairings and some chemistry. We definitely have a strong class of returners, and we now have 3 freshmen and 4 grad students as well that are new to the roster that are all making a big impact as well.
Yeah, and who are some of those top returning players? I know you have several all conference. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about that. You're in a new conference now, Conference USA.
Yes. Yeah.
New conference, new teams. What's that been like for you with having a new setup for your program?
Sure. We have been anticipating this with the development of the CCSA. Once the CCSA started expanding, that had been the goal to eventually divide into 2 conferences, with either CUSA taking over or Sunbelt. So in this case, Conference USA decided to adopt. And so we're very excited to stick with that group of teams that we've been playing with for the last couple of years. So very much what our conference tournament looked like last year. It was split into 2 different brackets. And the bracket that we were on, that's the whole Conference USA. So we are all very familiar with each other. We've been competing against each other for years. And it just gives the East Coast a little bit more representation now that the field has expanded for the national championship from 8 schools to 16 schools. And we've got automatic qualifiers. So we really had ourselves in position with the Conference USA to be ready for that jump with the sport.
Yeah, you mentioned the West Coast teams, obviously and even the Midwestern teams in the state of Texas. Will you be able to still get competition against them, or will it be a little bit tougher now with the schedule?
Oh, yeah. We're very different in the sense of the independence that we have to create our schedules. So we're actually heading to Texas this weekend, and TCU is in the CCSA. So we will play across the country still. There will be a lot of incentive now, probably more incentive to play outside of our region, just because there's more wild cards and at-large bids to be given as well.
Yeah, let's talk about some of your top returners. Obviously, Kelly Dorn is a big player for you, as well as some others. You have Eden Hawes, 2 all-conference performers. What about those 2 and being upperclassmen coming back to your squad?
Yeah, so I think just last week, both Eden and Maddie Del Monte were acknowledged as preseason players of the year for the CUSA, which is great for them. And I think largely they earned that because of the support and the competition from the team. Also, we have Kelly Dorn, Becky Tresham, and Bailey Hatchett. That's our senior class that's coming back, and definitely a lot of leadership, a lot of experience, and a lot of desire to get us to the next level. So it's great to have that core of athletes coming back and ready to push.
Yeah, and you also returned Angel and Bella, the sisters, to the squad. I think they're undefeated. At least they were undefeated this past weekend. What about that unit being back together for you as a double squad?
Yeah, we have so both Angel and Bella, and then Elise is one of our juniors that's come back as well. So Angel and Bella are just fun. Like their energy, their intensity, and their size. They're just very undersized for the sport, and it makes it so fun to watch them be gritty and to fight for every single contact that they get. But they definitely help the team with confidence, and they push and practice every single day.
Yeah, and you just participated in the Green Wave Invitational in New Orleans. What were some takeaways from those matches, just getting back onto the court against other competition?
Yeah, so we got to play some really, really strong teams. Tulane looks great, LSU looks great, and both Spring Hill and Nichols have continued to improve, and they're looking pretty strong as well. Our biggest takeaways are finding consistency with our pairings and consistency with our offensive and defensive systems. So that's really what we've been focusing on this week. We want to be extremely gritty defensively, and we want to be very gutsy and take some risks offensively. So a lot of that is just allowing the athletes to find the comfort in their partnerships to take up that space. And that's something that we'll be working on all season long. We have a very long, well, it's a short season, but we have a lot of games within that short season. So every single match is vital and important to us. And the more we can learn and transfer what we've, where we've messed up and where we've succeeded in the previous match, the more we learn and the stronger we get.
Do you still rotate players in different pairings, or when do you get to the point where you want to have these players consistently playing together in match competition and get them ready to progress through the year?
They would all love to have the same partner for the entire season. I think there's so much benefit, especially for women playing beach volleyball, to have that consistency with their partnership. So that's always a really important piece for us as coaches, is to figure out partnerships early, but we're also human and we don't always get it right. So we have to make adjustments when we see that partnerships aren't working. For example, this past weekend, we had to work around a couple of injuries. So some of the pairings are a little bit different going into this weekend. So there's always a couple of obstacles, and beach volleyball players in general are fantastic at adjusting to whatever happens. I think because there's so many unknowns in our sport. You might show up and play in the rain. You might show up and play in snow. You might show up and play in 90-degree weather. And we have to be mentally and physically prepared for all of that. And I think that ability to adapt comes in so many different ways. And I think it's a lifelong lesson that humans who play beach volleyball can learn and kind of ingrain into the rest of their lives.
Yep. And then lastly, you have the Horned Frog Invitational, or the event again that TCU is hosting, Horned Frog Challenge. What do you expect this weekend? You're facing familiar foes, as you mentioned. What do you want to see the team do well to come out with victories?
We're going to show up and we have to fight. There is not one easy duel this weekend. And in fact, most of our schedule, there's not. All of the teams at the collegiate level continue to press and grow and challenge each other. So this is really just going to be a test of our heart and a test of our training. And we have put in the hours, we put in the time. We are mentally and physically prepared, and we now just get to go out and perform. But there won't be one easy point that we're going to play this entire weekend. And I think being ready for that challenge, especially because we're going into a 5-duel weekend. Most of the weekends will only play 4. But this is a 5-duel weekend. So it's a little bit more grueling. Recovery is a little bit more important. And turning around from one duel to the next is also going to be critical for our success.
Beth, thank you for your time. Greatly appreciate it. And we'll continue to talk throughout the year.
Thank you so much for keeping up with us, Marcel. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.